Hey English learners! Are you ready to speak English with more confidence and enjoy real conversations without feeling nervous? Today, we are going to learn something very useful for your daily life. In this lesson, I will show you the best and easiest questions you can use to start small talk, continue a conversation, and sound natural like a real English speaker. We will also learn what questions you should not ask, and at the end, there will be a fun quiz to test your skills. So, let's start this journey together. Small talk is a short and friendly conversation that people have in daily life. It is simple, easy, and not very deep. You can use small talk with your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors, and even with people you do not know. You can use small talk almost everywhere. For example, you can use it at a party, at an event, in a cafe, on a bus, on a plane, while waiting in a line, or even before a class or meeting starts. It helps you feel more comfortable and connected with people. Now the big question is, how do we start small talk? Most people begin with very simple greetings. For example, "Hi, how are you?" "Good morning, how are you doing?" "Hey, how's it going?" These are very common and very easy. There is also a very casual sentence, "What's up?" This is very friendly, so you should use it with friends or people close to your age. Now maybe you are thinking, okay, I understand how to ask, but how do I answer? Here are some simple and natural answers. You can say, "Great, what about you?" Or, "Good, how about you?" Or even, "Not bad, and you?" You can also just say good. A simple answer is always okay. So now, let's see how a small conversation sounds. One person says, "Hi, how's it going?" The other person says, "Great, what about you?" And the first person says, "Good." You see? Very easy, very simple. But now comes the next step. What do we say after that? When you are at a special place like a party, event, or cafe, you can ask simple questions to continue the conversation. For example, you can ask, "What brings you here?" This means, "Why did you come here today?" You can also ask, "Do you know many people here?" This means, "Did you come alone or with friends?" Another good question is this your first time here? Or, "Do you come here often?" All these questions help you keep talking. Let's see a simple conversation example. "Hi, how are you?" "Great, what about you?" "Good, what brings you here tonight?" "A friend of mine is performing, so I came to watch." "Oh, nice, I just wanted to see this place." See, the conversation keeps going naturally. Now, another very common topic is asking about where someone is from. You can say, "Are you from around here?" This is a very good and safe question. You can also say, "Do you live here or are you just visiting?" But be careful with questions like, "Where are you from?" Because sometimes people may feel uncomfortable, especially if it sounds like you are asking about their background in a sensitive way. So the best and safest option is, "Do you live here or are you visiting?" Now let's move to another important topic, work. In some cultures, asking about work can feel too personal. But in many English-speaking countries, it is normal and acceptable. You can ask, "What kind of work do you do?" "What do you do for a living?" "Are you working or studying?" These questions are very common. For example, "Hi, how's it going?" "Good, how about you?" "Great. Are you from around here?" "No, I'm just visiting my sister." "Oh, nice, I just moved here for work." "Really? What kind of work do you do?" Here, it is not rude because the person already talked about work. So always listen carefully. If someone mentions something, you can ask more about it. Now let's talk about one of the most popular topics in small talk, weekend plans. People love to talk about what they will do on the weekend. You can ask, "Do you have any plans for the weekend?" "What are you doing this weekend?" "Are you doing anything fun?" For example, "Hey, how are you?" "Pretty good, and you?" "Good. Do you have any plans for the weekend?" Not yet, but I might try a new restaurant.
Oh, nice. And you? I'm going to a football game. This is how you keep the conversation alive and interesting. Now let's talk about hobbies and free time.
Instead of asking, "What is your hobby?" which sounds a little strange in real conversation, you should say,
What do you do for fun? Or what do you like to do in your free time?
These are very natural questions. For example,
Hi, how's it going?
"Not bad, and you?" "Good. So what do you do for fun?"
I love watching movies. Oh, nice, me too. Have you seen any good movies recently?
Now you have a new topic, movies. And this is how small talk grows into a longer conversation.
Now let's talk about something very powerful in conversation. Compliments.
Yes, you can say something nice to the other person, and this can make the conversation more friendly and warm. But you must be careful. You should not sound strange or uncomfortable. A good rule is compliment things, not the body. For example, you can say,
That's a cool t-shirt. Where did you get it? That's a nice laptop. What brand is it? Cool tattoo. Is there a story behind it? I like your hair color. Is it natural? These are safe and friendly. But do not say things like, You have nice eyes. You have beautiful legs. These can make people feel uncomfortable, especially if you don't know them. Now let's see a simple example. Hi, how are you? Good, and you? Great. I really like your t-shirt. Are you into anime?
"Yes, I started watching after my trip to Japan." "Oh, nice. Where did you go in Japan?"
Now the conversation continues easily because you opened a new topic. Now let's talk about something very important. What questions should you not ask?
Some questions are too personal, and they can make people feel uncomfortable.
For example, avoid these. Are you married?
"Do you have kids?"
Do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend?
"How old are you?"
How much money do you make? These questions are too private, especially when talking to someone you just met.
But what if you really want to ask something personal?
There is a polite way to do it. First, you say something to show respect. For example, Sorry for asking, but
"I hope you don't mind me asking."
I don't mean to be rude, but
"May I ask?" For example,
Sorry for asking, but are you married?
"I hope you don't mind me asking, but how old are you?"
May I ask if you are working or studying? This makes your question softer and more polite.
Now here is a small grammar tip.
When you use may I ask, the sentence structure changes.
You say, "May I ask where you are from?"
Not may I ask where are you from? And may I ask if you are married?
Not may I ask if are you married. This small change is very important.
Now it's time for something fun. Let's test your understanding with a quick quiz.
Question 1.
You meet someone. What can you say?
You can say,
Hi, how are you?
"How's it going?" "What's up?"
All are correct.
Question 2.
You are at an event. What can you ask? What brings you here?
Do you know many people here?
Is this your first time here? All are good.